Sharon Kaur is standing by. She's a Liberal strategist, principal at Navigator. Sharon, good to have you back with us here. A lot at stake for Mark Carney. What are you watching for here? How does he come out of this in sort of a best-case scenario situation?
So there's a lot of rumors and speculations that, and this happens usually at the end of these type of cabinet meetings and retreats, that there'll be some sort of announceable that's going to come out, likely tomorrow. And I think the biggest thing that's going to come out of this is what is the agenda going into the fall? What is their focus going to be? I know it seems time tends to go faster, it tends to go slow. It's been 6 months since he's been elected, and they've spent the summer trying to get all their ministers up and going. And I think what we're going to see tomorrow likely is possibly an announcement with something to do with strengthening the economy, productivity, competitiveness, tying it all into what was announced last week around the major projects, and trying to differentiate himself here truly from the previous administration. So I think this is what's going to set the tone for the fall.
Yeah, what about the austerity plans that we're hearing, being discussed, Sharon, in terms of, a fiscal blueprint here, trying to cut down on some of the departments that may have been bloated under the previous Prime Minister, under Justin Trudeau, and trying to say, look, we've got to make some cuts here. It may be challenging, but it needs to be done amid larger worries that we are heading toward a recession in this country.
Yeah, and listen, he's been pretty transparent around the fact that he is going to approach the federal bureaucracy, whether it's from a workforce perspective, reducing the workforce, in addition to looking at programs that don't need to necessarily exist in the current form, and if there's ways to streamline that. So when he uses terms like austerity, I think it's to prepare Canadians that he's not the same prime minister that was in the last mandate. He is a new boss at the top, and he's going to look at this from an efficiency perspective. He's going to look at this as taxpayers' dollars. Is the money that people are paying with their taxes into the government, what is the return on investment here, and refocusing where the federal government is spending money? I think it's going to be difficult for a lot of people who are used to seeing a bureaucracy that grew, and I think people should not be surprised that this is probably going to be more than getting rid of some of the attrition that's going to be there when it comes to the public service, but also looking at programs that can be pulled back and then focusing the funds on major projects. What can we do to help Canada's sovereignty, made in Canada solutions, and how do we support ourselves in this current state of, I would say, tariff wars constantly with the U.S.?
Yeah, well said. Last question for you has to do with that and this kind of frustrating incrementalism that the Carney government is dealing with, where, we're having conversations, we had a phone call, we had a meeting, we don't know what's happening, we're not sure, we're hoping that positives will come out of this, but we just don't know with this administration. Can you cut through some of that? What's your gut telling you about, where that relationship is at right now? Are we closer to, some kind of a deal, a cohesive, coherent deal, or is it just going to get kicked down the road throughout the fall here?
So I'll speak to this from my experience the first time we had to do the negotiations with Trump and his previous administration. I think what a lot of people get surprised when they hear this is the first time they're speaking in a week or 2 weeks or whatever the case may be, in a month. What I will say is that we have to remember that Trump is kind of at war with the entire world. He is throwing, he's put everyone into this trade tizzy, and it's not just Canada. We are a trading partner. We are north of the border, but we are a small part of the pie when it comes to everything globally. So what I would say is that I think people shouldn't read too much into the frequency of their phone calls. Conversations are happening daily at a staff level, a ministerial level, a public service level. But we're going to be dealing with this uncertainty for, I would say, pretty much the entirety of Trump's tenure. But we are going into CUSMA renegotiation. So I think they're trying to balance this very carefully as to how do we kind of pull back on certain things. And we saw that with some of the retaliatory tariffs. So I would say they've got a lot to deal with, but they're dealing with someone who's really unpredictable. So everyone has to use that lens when they're trying to figure out what the strategy is, because sometimes the strategy is you have to go with the flow.
Absolutely. Sharon Kaur with some wise words. Thanks for this. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Todd.